She sacrificed food for books. Then the millionaire CEO made a bold move that shocked the world. The air crackled with tension on the bustling New York streets as whispers of a bizarre event rushed through the crowd like wildfire. It wasn't just another Thursday, it was the day the unusual became the unbelievable. Claire, a 20-something bookworm with a thrift store wardrobe, had made headlines not for fame or fortune but for choosing paperbacks over her meals. Who could sacrifice food for something as intangible as stories? In that peculiar cafe, where elegance brushed shoulders with the aromatic scent of coffee, Claire's oversized glasses magnified her wide, earnest eyes. She de-stacked books in front of her like fortress walls, each one more coveted than the last. The story was that she wandered into a corner shop, stumbled upon her favorite novel, and in an impulsive moment, traded her last few dollars instead of buying lunch. The barista stared, her jaw slack with disbelief. Yet, it was more than mere hunger. It was a hunger for knowledge, adventure, escapism, the very fabric of life. Yet, lurking in the background was Ethan Storm, the enigmatic CEO whose demeanor was as sharp as his tailored suit. With a mind for corporations and a heart tangled up in philanthropy, he had his eye on Claire. Tension brewed the moment he found out what she had done. Angry murmurs filled the air. Founders and financiers whispered behind their lattes, judging her choices. How dare she? One scoffed, doesn't she know life costs more than books? But Ethan didn't see a reckless choice. He saw potential, a hidden gem waiting to be polished. He paced the room, pulse quickening under a thin sheen of sweat when he finally approached her table, mind racing like a freight train. "Excuse me," he said, his voice low, but urgent. Claire looked up, barely able to form words as the weight of possibility bore down on her chest. A world where books ruled over food? Or a chance encounter that could alter her fate? He leaned closer, and her breath hitched with anticipation as he spoke, his words sending shivers down her spine. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect." Ethan's gaze pierced through the hustle and bustle, his intention hanging heavy in the air. Would he rescue her from her own choices, or would he add to her burdens? The moment stretched painfully, filled with unspoken words and that jittery spark of what could come next. Claire's heart raced, she felt it in her bones. Uncertainty swirled as she grappled with the implications of his presence. It was just the beginning of something vast and unknown. What bold move would the CEO make next? And would it shock the world, or would it shatter her fragile dreams? Ethan leaned in, his voice dropping to a whisper that only Claire could hear. "I want to help you. We can create something powerful together." Her heart thudded painfully in her chest as confusion swept over her. Help? Did he not see the absurdity of her situation? She looked at the books stacked around her, lifelines in a world where she often felt out of place. "What do you mean?" Claire managed to ask, her mind racing. Ethan straightened, glancing around to make sure they were shielded from prying eyes. "I've been watching you, Claire. Your passion for literature, the way you prioritize those stories over food." He paused, adjusting his cufflinks, an oddly nervous gesture for someone of his stature. "I see a drive that not many have. I want to help you turn that into a career." He didn't just see a girl who couldn't afford lunch, he saw a potential brand, an influencer who could inspire others. The shock of his proposition hit her like a punch. An idea, a wild whirlwind of dreams and fears swirled in her mind. An opportunity to do what she loved. It felt like a fleeting chance, but how could she take it? Uncertainty wrapped around her like a heavy fog. What would that even look like? She asked, pushing back against the magnetic pull of his offer. "Blogging, Content creation. Ethan waved his hand, the air around them electrified. We could launch a platform where you discuss books, review them, share your insights. You would become a voice for those who feel just like you. But I'm just an average girl, Claire stammered, eyeing his sharply tailored suit and perfectly combed hair. Why would people listen to me? Because you're genuine, he replied, his eyes fierce and bright. People are hungry for authenticity in a world saturated with superficiality. You have a story to tell and I want to help you tell it. The cafe hummed around them, the murmurs of patrons weaving a tapestry of noise, but for Claire, time felt suspended. Her breath caught as the gravity of his words settled in. She felt a rush of two contrasting emotions, hope flickered alongside dread. Could she really dare to dream that big? Would losing herself in this endeavor mean a loss of her treasured simplicity? Torn between aspiration and fear, Claire shifted in her seat, wavering. But before she could respond, a sharp voice cut through their conversation. Ethan, you can't be serious, a man interrupted, sliding into the chair opposite them. The table felt tighter as uncomfortable tension seeped in from every corner of the cafe. Investing in her? That's a waste of resources. Claire's cheeks burned as the man's disdainful glance ricocheted off her. She stole a glance at Ethan, who remained composed, his jaw set like steel. Watch me, he declared, a fierce defense rising from within him. You don't see what she represents. You're only looking at the surface. The stranger scoffed, crossing his arms. And what is that, exactly? A fairy tale? This is business, Ethan. Exactly, Ethan shot back, his composure barely contained. And sometimes, it's the stories that change everything. As the two men clashed, swirling emotions gripped Claire. What did this mean for her? With a rush of adrenaline, she realized she had to make her choice. Ethan. Before she could voice her thoughts, the stranger interjected again, raising the stakes of tension even higher. Do you really think they'll want to follow you? In a world where everyone is lost in self-promotion? Claire's heart thundered. Was she prepared to step into a spotlight that came with scrutiny? The world outside the cafe continued its chaotic march, but Claire was still in suspended animation, caught between expectation and fear. And as Ethan turned to her, his eyes filled with fierce determination, a question loomed: could she embrace this journey, no matter the cost? And if she hesitated, would she lose the chance of a lifetime? Just then, her phone buzzed with a notification. She glanced down and froze. A message from a mystery number read, "I know your secret, and I'm not the only one." What could that mean? As she looked up in panic, the weight of the decision hung heavy and the door to Claire's world began to crack wide open, threatening to unleash everything she thought she knew. Claire's heart raced as she read the cryptic message again. I know your secret, and I'm not the only one. The words clung to her mind like thick fog in the early hours, suffocating and heavy. She quickly glanced around the cafe, fear pooling in her stomach. Who could it be? And what did they know? Ethan's voice brought her back. Claire. His eyes pierced through the stunned silence that surrounded her. What is going on? She stammered, trying to gather her thoughts. Questions ricocheted in her head, drowning out all sanity. What if this was about her struggles? What if someone found out about her hunger for success, or worse, her hunger for food? The stranger across the table leaned in, his smirk back in full force. Interesting, isn't it? A little scandal always gets people's attention. He seemed to take pleasure in her discomfort, as if feeding off her distress. I wouldn't want to be in your shoes, Claire. What do you know? She shot back, her voice sharper than she intended. This was her life they were discussing, and she refused to appear weak, especially not now. The stranger shrugged, raising an eyebrow. Just that secrets have a way of coming back around. You should be careful. Enough, Ethan cut in, the tone in his voice shifting suddenly. You're out of line. He turned to Claire, his gaze sincere. Forget about him. Focus on what you want. But how could she? The uncertainty loomed too large. Before she could respond, another buzz vibrated in her hand. This time it was a notification from her social media. A flood of new followers had rushed in, and with it, a message from an unknown account: "You're not the only one with secrets, Claire. Watch your back." Shivers skittered down her spine. Was this a coincidence? Or was someone really watching her every move? Ethan must have noticed her growing panic. "Let us step outside," he urged, standing up and offering his hand to her. "You need air. We need to talk." Claire hesitated. She was caught in a web of uncertainty, caught between Ethan's offer and these unsettling messages. But the urgency in his eyes was unmistakable. She slipped her hand into his, feeling a jolt of warmth connect them. The moment they stepped out into the chilly air, Claire's panic mixed with something else, a glimmer of hope. "What do you want to do?" Ethan asked, his expression serious now. Claire took a deep breath, fighting the fear clinging to her throat. "I need to figure out who's behind those messages." "Agreed." He nodded, determination etching his features. "We'll sort this out together, but you have to trust me." As they walked further away from the watchful eyes of the cafe, Claire felt the weight of the world shifting slightly. She was scared but strangely empowered. "How can I trust you when all this chaos is happening?" Ethan paused, his grip on her hand tightening. "I know it's a lot to take in, but I'm here because I believe in you, Claire. You need to understand the potential within yourself. If we can harness that, we can face whatever is coming." As they moved into the dimly lit street, a chilling wind swept past them, causing Claire to shiver. She could feel her heart racing, not just from anxiety but from something else, adventure, perhaps. The thrill of stepping into a new life, even while lurking shadows threatened to engulf her. Suddenly, her phone buzzed again, and she stopped in her tracks. The screen lit up with a new message: "You're not ready for the truth. But I'll be waiting." The cold pierced her, and a wave of nausea flooded her system. What truth? What was happening? Ethan stepped closer, concern flashing across his features. "What is it?" Swallowing hard, Claire turned to him, her voice just above a whisper. "It's coming and I don't know if I'm ready." His eyes were fierce, unwavering. "Then let us get ready together." But as Claire looked back down at her phone, dread twisted her stomach. Answers were just out of reach, and the darkness was closing in. What awaited them at the end of this path? With the weight of uncertainty pressing heavily on her, Claire's heart thudded louder with each passing second. And just as she steeled herself for whatever would come next, a figure appeared at the end of the street, shrouded in shadows. Was this another threat, or a possible ally? Claire took a deep breath, ready to confront the unknown, but little did she know, the true danger lay only moments away. Claire squinted into the shadows, her heart pounding louder than ever. The figure at the end of the street shifted, becoming clearer. It was a woman, wrapped in a long coat with a hood pulled up, obscuring most of her face. Claire glanced at Ethan, whose expression had turned serious, all traces of earlier warmth gone. "Stay close to me," he said, stepping in front of her protectively. The woman approached slowly, each step methodical, as if she were calculating every move. Claire's breath hitched in her throat. What did she want? Claire, the woman's voice unfurled like fog, low and melodic but coated with an edge of urgency. "I need to talk to you. In private." "Who are you?" Claire shot back, her voice trembling despite her best efforts to project confidence. "I'm someone who knows what's at stake," the woman replied, her hood shadowing her eyes, giving her an otherworldly feel. "The messages. They mean something. And you need to understand before it's too late." Ethan's protective stance instinctively shifted. "We're not going anywhere with you." The woman held up her hands in surrender, revealing an intricate tattoo snaking down her forearm. "I'm not here to hurt you." Tension hung thick in the air, and Claire found herself pulled in by the woman's mysterious aura. "Then tell me who you are," she pressed, stepping cautiously around Ethan. I am a friend. A part of a network that has been watching the organization that's targeting you. I'm here to help you. Help? Ethan snorted harshly. Why should we trust you? Because you don't have a choice. The woman stepped closer, and Claire caught a glimpse of her eyes sharp, focused. Someone wants to exploit your secrets, and they won't stop until they do. A shiver ran down Claire's spine. What kind of secrets? Everything, the woman said, her voice dropping to a whisper. You need to be prepared. The truth isn't just about you. It reaches far deeper. The air grew heavy around them, the sensation almost tangible. Claire felt as if the ground might give way beneath her. What do you mean? She struggled to keep her voice steady, her hands trembling slightly. I mean there's more to your story, your struggles, than you realize. Ethan moved closer to Claire, shielding her from the alarming depth of the woman's words. We're done here, he said defiantly. Are you willing to gamble your future on ignorance? The woman challenged, her eyes boring into Claire. If you're not careful, what's looming on the horizon will consume you. Enough. Just tell us what you want, Claire interjected, heart racing with a mix of fear and anger. I want you to meet me at sunrise. I'll tell you everything you need to know to protect yourself. But you need to come alone. Her voice was resolute, and the intensity in her gaze made Claire's insides twist. This is the only way. The cold wind picked up, swirling leaves around them like warnings. Come alone. Ethan echoed, his voice laced with disbelief and concern. That's not happening. Claire stood frozen, her mind sending her in conflicting directions. Could she trust this stranger? What did she have to lose? You don't have time to ponder this, the woman said, stepping back into the shadows. It's either you take the risk or forfeit everything. Then, just like that, she melted away into the darkness, leaving only the sound of Claire's pounding heart echoing in the lonely street. What just happened? Claire whispered, feeling both exhilarated and terrified. Ethan turned to face her, fear etched in his features. We need to make a decision, and fast. But as Claire glanced at her phone again, her heart sank further. Another message flashed, time is running out, Claire. I'll be watching with a sense of dread tightening her gut, she wondered if facing this truth might indeed be the biggest risk of all. What harsh realities awaited her in the light of dawn? Claire took a shaky breath. The path ahead was dark and twisted, but there was no turning back now. Would she confront the truth or be consumed by it? As the last night's shadows crept away, the weight of her decision bore down heavily on her. And just as the light began to shift in the horizon, Claire felt a sudden chill, realizing someone was still watching her. Claire's thoughts spun wildly as dawn crept closer, the sky bleeding into hues of orange and pink. She stood motionless, grappling with the weight of the woman's words and the urgency pressing upon her. Ethan remained by her side, the tension radiating from him palpable in the cool morning air. What do we do? Claire mumbled, her voice barely escaping her lips as despair seeped in. Ethan's grip on her arm tightened, grounding her. We can't let this stranger dictate our next steps. We need to go to the police. They'll know what to do. The idea sent a jolt of panic through Claire. And tell them what? That a weird woman claimed I had secrets. They'll think we're crazy. Maybe, but at least it's safer than trusting her, he argued, his eyes darting around as if sensing unseen dangers lurking in every shadow. She dropped her gaze, weighing her options. Trusting a mysterious stranger felt like a betrayal of the safety she clung to, yet the gnawing sensation in her gut urged her to uncover the truth. If what the woman said was real, the stakes escalated far beyond her imagining. I have to do this, Ethan, Claire finally declared, surprising even herself. Are you out of your mind? This may not just be a conversation, he replied, his voice gruff, laced with frustration. What if she's working with the organization? What if this is a trap? Then we'll deal with it. Claire's voice dropped as steely determination took root. I can't let fear rule my life anymore. I must know. Please. He fell silent, conflicted. Claire could see the battle in his eyes, the desire to protect her fighting against the reality of her resolve. Fine, he relented, his voice heavy with resignation. But I'm coming with you, just in case. Claire swallowed hard. The last thing she wanted was to put him in danger, but she also knew that if he felt safer being there, it would bolster her own courage. Okay, but just stay behind me, she whispered. As the first rays of sunlight crept over the horizon, illuminating her surroundings with an almost ethereal glow, Claire felt her heartbeat quicken. The world transformed, shadows fading under the brightening sky, but her own inner darkness only deepened. In the distance, she spotted a bench in the park where they had agreed to meet. A sense of unease washed over her as the very sight pulled at her. What if this was a mistake? They approached cautiously as Claire's pulse surged louder in her ears. Each step brought memories of the messages she received, the fear that had been creeping up on her for weeks, and the looming question, what had she been summoned to understand? Ethan reached for her hand, and Claire's stomach twisted with nerves. She needed to be strong. Whatever lay ahead, she would face it head-on. They reached the bench, where the air felt thick, pregnant with silence. The woman's presence hung like an uninvited specter, lingering in the air. Claire looked around, half expecting her to materialize from the shadows, but there was nothing. Suddenly, Claire's phone vibrated violently against her thigh. She jumped, heart racing, and pulled it out. A new message flashed ominously on the screen, you made the right choice coming here. But you're not alone anymore. Before she could process it, Ethan's eyes widened in horror. Claire, behind you. She whipped around, senses heightened. But there was nothing, no figure, no movement, just the rising sun casting long shadows that danced like phantoms. What are you talking about? She breathed, the tension in the air almost suffocating. We need to go. Now. Ethan's urgency pulled her back. He turned his body toward the street as if scanning for threats. But Claire stood frozen, a chilling realization cutting through her. The messages had been right. Someone was watching, and whoever it was, they weren't finished with her yet. As fear clawed at her insides, she felt the first stirrings of something else, the determination to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. Let us get out of here, she whispered, but a soft chuckle echoed behind her, chilling her blood. Too late for that. Claire, the woman's voice murmured from the shadows, more enchanting and menacing than before. She emerged, her eyes flashing, determination cutting through the air like a knife. It was time for answers, but at what cost? And as the laughter faded, the dawning realization sank in: this was just the beginning. What awaited them now wasn't just a conversation, but a confrontation with the secrets waiting to be unveiled. Claire's breath hitched in her throat, the woman's words like a dark thunder echoing inside her skull. She faced her, eyes narrowed and heart pounding. The sun was brighter, but shadows curled around her like a storm. What do you want from me? Claire's voice faltered, revealing her fear. The woman stepped forward, her silhouette cloaked in mystery, an alluring danger that kept Claire locked in place. You know the truth. The one you've buried deep inside. Her tone dripped with a mix of allure and menace. Ethan moved closer to Claire, eyeing the woman suspiciously. Back off, he warned, tension thick in the air. We don't want any trouble. The woman smirked, her eyes sparkling maliciously. Trouble? Oh, I'm just here to help, in my own way. Claire's pulse raced. Help? She couldn't trust a word that came from this stranger's mouth. Memories surged, the messages, the secrets she had almost forgotten. What do you know? Claire pressed, her voice steadier than she felt. That a flicker of satisfaction crossed the woman's face. More than you think. You have a connection to something much larger, and they're watching. Who's watching? What do you mean? Panic gripped Claire, the weight of the unknown pressing heavily on her chest. the woman smiled, a predatory gleam in her gaze. You'll find out soon enough. You're a player in a game far beyond your understanding. The stakes are life and death. Ethan's hand tightened around Claire's, grounding her momentarily, but the urgency was rising again. We need to go, Claire. Let's call for help. I'm not leaving yet. Claire snapped, emboldened by the urgency of the moment. I need answers. Answers come at a price, the woman purred, her voice silky smooth. But you might just find it's a price you're willing to pay. Claire's mind raced. She didn't know what the woman was asking, but fear was eclipsing her rational thoughts. I'll do what it takes to understand. The woman's smile widened. Then let us start with your fear. What is it that you're truly afraid of? The question cut deep. Claire hesitated, the vivid memories of her past swirling around her like ghosts. Losing myself, losing everyone I love. I can't let anyone else be dragged into this. Ah, clinging to your loved ones, the woman mused, tilting her head slightly. That's where your weakness lies. Something flickered in Claire's chest, a dark truth she had been avoiding. I don't fear them being harmed. I fear what I could become to protect them. Exactly, the woman said, her voice like velvet. You see, strength can come from darkness. Embrace it. Or it will consume you. Ethan interjected, voice steady yet urgent, enough of your games. You're not going to manipulate her. The woman turned her attention to Ethan, dismissive. Your concern is admirable, but Claire's choices are her own. As the shadows seemed to thicken around them, Claire felt a wave of anger rise. What do you want? The woman leaned in closer, unblinking. Just a taste of your potential. One test, and I'll show you the truth. Fail, and you might never know what you could have been. How can we trust you? Ethan accused, stepping slightly forward. Trust? The woman laughed lightly, but the mirth didn't reach her eyes. Trust is dead in this world. But you can rely on your own instincts. There's a decision to be made. Claire glanced at Ethan, his face a mirror of distress. The temptation of answers waged war inside her. What kind of test? Meet me tonight. The place is not far. But only if you're ready. With that, the woman turned, melting into the shadows as if she was a part of them. Claire could feel her heart racing, the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Ethan, we've got to figure this out. No, he replied firmly. This isn't just about you. I don't like how this feels. A chilling breeze swept through the park. The sun broke through the clouds, but Claire's mind was fogged with uncertainty. The stakes felt impossibly high now, with their lives twisting into a tangled knot of secrets and shadows. Tonight, Claire said, more to herself than to Ethan. This was her chance, however dangerous it may be. Then her phone buzzed again, making her jump. Another message, are you ready to embrace your true self? The clock is ticking. She felt a cold sweat break out on her skin. There was no turning back now that the sun dipped below the horizon. Claire knew the time for decisions was drawing near. What awaited her at nightfall could change everything. Would she unlock her potential or lose herself in the process? The question hung heavy in the air, electrifying the moment. Every heartbeat echoed a warning. This was only the beginning of her darkest journey. Claire's heart pounded in her chest as she glanced at the glowing screen of her phone. The woman's cryptic message burned in her mind, itching like a rash she couldn't scratch. The clock is ticking. Time felt fluid, stretching and contracting, warping her reality. Claire. Ethan's voice was laced with concern, breaking through her chaotic thoughts. Are you sure about this? She met his gaze, her resolve flickering. I need to know what she meant. I have to understand this part of me that's screaming to get out. Ethan shook his head, frustration and fear clouding his features. You're playing with fire. This isn't just about curiosity. It's dangerous. With a deep breath, Claire stepped back, away from Ethan and the warmth of their shared space. What if this is the only way to figure out who I really am? What if there's more to uncover? I can't keep running from my past. The shadows around them deepened, her resolve solidifying. There was a longing inside her, a hunger for answers that drowned out the fear. As evening settled, Claire returned home, each tick of the clock amplifying her anxiety. Dusk turned to night, and the city lights outside glimmered like distant stars, mocking her gathering dread. The woman had said to come alone, but the thought of facing whatever awaited her without Ethan by her side was unbearable. She paced her bedroom, running her fingers over the textured walls, the familiar colors providing no comfort. What would that test entail? The thought gnawed at her. Would she be asked to confront truths she had long buried? That dreaded darkness lurking just beneath her skin. She glanced at her reflection in the bathroom mirror, the incandescent light illuminating her face, an image of uncertainty cloaked in determination. You can do this, she muttered to herself. But doubt slithered around her heart like a constrictor. Hours seemed to evaporate as Claire prepared, throwing on a black hoodie and jeans. She needed to feel hidden, ready to step into the murky unknown. The night air was heavy with anticipation as she stepped outside. Stay safe, Ethan's voice echoed in her mind. There was a warmth in his words, a tether pulling at her heart, but she couldn't linger. The city streets were nearly empty, the only sounds were the hum of distant cars and the echoes of her footsteps against concrete. Each step toward the designated meeting place felt like crossing a threshold into a different realm. Finally, she arrived at a deserted alley framed by aged brick buildings, shadows casting ominous figures along the ground. Claire hesitated, feeling the weight of the darkness pressing in around her. Are you ready to embrace your true self? The woman's voice resonated in her mind, and her stomach twisted. The air shifted as a figure emerged from the shadows, cloaked in darkness. The woman appeared, her presence exuding authority and enigma. You came, she purred, a bemused smile dancing on her lips. Let us get this over with, Claire said, her voice stronger than she felt. She wasn't backing down now. Brave, the woman replied, her tone dripping with intrigue. But bravery can become foolishness. Are you sure you want to know? Claire nodded, a heavy certainty settling deep within. Excellent. But first, there is something I need to show you to help you understand what it is you truly fear. Suddenly, the air around them quivered, a palpable tension coiling tightly. Wait, Claire stammered, panic creeping in as she sensed an unsettling shift. What do you mean? Only by confronting it can you harness your potential. Without warning, shadows surged around Claire, swirling and morphing into stark images. Past memories clawed at her mind, the hurt, the fear, the moments she had tried to bury. The woman watched, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. Now, Claire, face it. Embrace the darkness, or it will consume you. Claire's breath quickened as she wrestled with the flood of emotion crashing over her. She could feel the cold grip of dread tightening. As the shadows danced, swallowing her whole, a question whispered through the chaos. Would she fold under the weight of her fears or forge her path through the dark? The line between salvation and doom blurred, leaving Claire standing at the precipice of an abyss. She had willingly stepped into the unknown, but at what cost? And in that disorienting moment, the truth clawed at her insides, echoing deep in her mind. What was she truly capable of? The pulse of the night thrummed loudly in her ears as she faced the darkness. It was only the beginning, and she never felt more alive or terrified. What awaited her in the depths of her own soul? Claire felt the shadows morphing into whispers, each one pulling her deeper into her own mind. Images flooded her, memories she had tried to keep buried. She saw her childhood home, a place of laughter and warmth that spiraled into chaos. Her mother's tears, her father's rage, it all echoed painfully, like a forgotten song that suddenly became unbearable. Face it, Claire, the woman urged, her voice smooth as silk yet laden with steel. These memories are the shackles you've placed on yourself. It's time to break free. But Claire's heart raced. She had run from these memories for so long. Each moment was like a punch to the gut. She wanted to scream, to claw her way out of this void that threatened to swallow her whole. Fear clung to her like a second skin, suffocating and relentless. Do you understand what's at stake? The woman's eyes bore into Claire's, penetrating her defenses. You've come here for answers, yet here you are, choosing to flee. Claire shook her head, trying to blink away the blurriness threatening her resolve. I'm not running, I'm trying to what? The woman interrupted, a slight smirk tugging at her mouth. Rediscover who you are. Or recreate the person you wish you could be. In that moment, desperation surged through Claire. She clenched her fists, feeling the weight of her fears pressing down on her. What was she really fighting for? Suddenly, the shadows thickened, morphing into a reflection of her current self, the girl who lived in constant shadow, always afraid of becoming the abyss that loomed beside her. A figure emerged past Claire, young and defiant, but marred by scars of past decisions. Listen to her, the woman commanded, gesturing toward the figure. She is you, the one who wanted to fight, who wanted to thrive beyond the hurt. A chill ran down Claire's spine as she locked eyes with that girl. They were one and the same, yet worlds apart. She bore witness to the defiance that had been extinguished too soon. I don't want to be her, Claire whispered, but her voice trembled. Denying this side of you only keeps the darkness within, the woman said. Let it rise. With a gasp, Claire was plunged deeper into her past. Flashes of anger and betrayal engulfed her, friends who turned, loves lost, opportunities sacrificed. Each memory collided like thunder in her mind, splitting her soul into the safe, quiet Claire and the fierce, chaotic spirit she had tried to suppress. Accept it. The woman urged, pushing Claire toward the turmoil. You are not just the light, you are the storm, waiting to break free. A surge of emotion clawed at Claire, compelling her beyond fear. I know this pain, she cried out. I know it like the back of my hand. Then use it. The woman commanded. Transform it. Feel the power surge through you as you embrace who you truly are. The shadows trembled as Claire stood at the precipice of her own power. Euphoria and dread fused in her chest. She felt alive, electrified, yet terrified. Suddenly, a searing light flooded the darkness, illuminating every corner of her mind. The woman stepped forward, her expression shifting from amusement to a fierce intensity. This is only the beginning. You have a choice, Claire. Will you rise, or will you fall? Out of the chaos, an image burst into clarity, Ethan, standing tall in her thoughts, a beacon in the storm. Would he understand this new side of her? Would he accept her darkness? Tremors coursed through her as she felt the pressure building, the shadows urging her to surrender to them. I can't, Claire stuttered, I don't want to lose myself. Then define yourself. Choose your path. The woman's eyes blazed, her voice echoing like thunder. And in that critical moment, Claire understood. The true battle wasn't against the darkness, it was about fully embracing everything she was, shadows and all. As the light swirled around her, a thought crystallized at the forefront of her mind. What if this darkness was not her enemy, but the very key to her power? That was the question she grasped as the shadows lunged towards her, and with a roar that erupted. From the depths of her soul, Claire stepped into the light, but something shifted in the ether, a disruption, a force trying to pull her back. What would that force reveal, and could she harness it to break free? The clock was still ticking. The moment Claire stepped into the light, the world around her exploded with color and sound. The shadows that had clung to her like ghosts began to dissipate, retreating into the corners of her mind where they had long taken refuge. But just as the light enveloped her, a shadowy tendril snapped back toward her, wrapping around her wrist like a vice. Not so fast. A voice rasped from the depths of darkness. The woman's smooth cadence was suddenly distorted, as if 1,000 whispers had taken on a single, twisted tongue. Claire gasped, feeling the cold grip tighten, constricting her arm. Who are you? She shouted, forcing the words past the knot in her throat. It was terrifying to see something that had once felt like a part of her rearing up, refusing to let go. I am what you fear to accept, it hissed, the shadows swirling in a grotesque dance. I am your truth. You can't escape me, Claire. The air crackled with tension. Claire's heart hammered painfully against her ribcage. She wanted to shout, to deny it all, but the words caught in her throat. What if there was some truth to what it said? No. She screamed, summoning every ounce of strength, every painful memory that formed her existence. I refuse to let you control me. Suddenly, the light surged, responding to her resolve. The shadows writhed as if stung, loosening their grip just enough for her to yank free. She stumbled backward, breathing heavily, almost overwhelmed by the sudden rush of power. Fear is nothing without context, the woman's voice re-emerged, softer but still charged. It only has control if you let it. I'm tired of running, Claire said, surprising herself. The gravity of her past no longer felt like an anchor, instead, it seemed a bridge. I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be me. Very good, the woman replied, the shadows swirling around her feet like mist. Now are you ready to confront what truly lies ahead? With a deep breath, Claire looked directly into the depths where the darkness festered. What's next? A new clarity washed over her. She began to walk forward, moving toward the shadows that once haunted her. The air around her crackled, filled with expectation and dread alike. A low rumble echoed in her bones, fermenting the tension into tangible energy. As Claire advanced, the shadows shrank, writhing and contorting like frightened animals. Each step became a pulse, synchronizing with her newfound power. The chaotic images flared above her, flickering like a broken film reel, rejection, betrayal, darkness, hurt, but now they no longer felt like chains. They were lessons, blacksmithing her into something stronger. Let it flow through you, the woman said as she stepped back, allowing Claire the space to define her own path. Transform it, not just for yourself, but for the world waiting on the other end of this journey. The air shifted sharply, and Claire took a final step into the shadows. A wild surge of emotion coursed through her veins, igniting every cell in her body. Memories provoked laughter and tears, pain mixing with strength, it was explosive. She felt a universe within her, a swirling mosaic of every moment that shaped her. Then, without warning, a piercing scream emerged, echoing through the darkness, fracturing the very fabric of her newly found strength. Footsteps thundered down a distant hallway, fracture lines splitting through the shadows everywhere around her. Where is she? A familiar voice called, panic slicing into the power she had just embraced. Ethan. His words ignited a flicker of fear deep in her heart. No. Claire shouted, horror flooding her as she realized the shadows had cloaked themselves around him. Ethan. The darkness roared, almost taunting her. Was it too late to save him? The choice lashed through her, a dizzying torrent of love and fear. Could she truly harness this newfound power not just for herself, but to reach out and save him from the very shadows she was learning to embrace? As the shadows writhed and the echoes rang louder, Claire prepared to leap, her heart at the edge of an abyss. Would she dive back into darkness to save him, or would that be the moment she lost herself entirely? Claire's heart raced as she felt the shadows pulse and swirl around her. Ethan's voice echoed relentlessly in her mind, tugging at her soul. No. She screamed again, desperation clawing at her throat. The once comforting darkness turned hostile, longing to swallow her whole, but she couldn't let it take him. Ethan. With a surge of determination, she seized the shadows, each tendril twisting around her fingers, whispering their secrets. You won't take him. She shouted, defiance burning through her. Claire called upon all the pain and anguish, channeling it into a blazing light. I won't be consumed, not now. The moment she accepted her genesis, the shadows recoiled, expelling a cacophony of shrieks, a chorus of her past. The swirling darkness transformed, weaving itself into a tapestry of light and darkness that danced before her eyes. Memories flooded back, snapshots of every choice and chance. Each echo reminded her of the strength she had hidden all this time. With her heart firmly anchored in purpose, she staggered toward the shifting shapes that trapped Ethan. "I want to let you take him," Claire declared. As if responding to her conviction, the shadows splintered, revealing a path through the heart of the darkness. White-hot energy surged through her, amplifying her voice. "Ethan, hold on. I'm coming." She felt the world around her tremble and shift. The gateway between herself and Ethan grew more prominent, a chasm signaling the choice ahead. Would she surrender and let him fall, or would she dive headfirst into that dark void? Her potential ignited, with a tug from deep within, she dashed through the thick mass of darkness, feeling the cold tendrils fade against her skin, surrendering as she moved with conviction. "We're stronger together," she thought, the mantra forming within her as she drew closer. Then she saw him, Ethan, caught amid swirling blackness, struggling against the shadows that sought to ensnare him. His eyes locked onto hers, desperation etched into his features. "Claire!" he cried out, extending his hand. Power surged between them, creating an invisible bridge. She could see clearly now he was trapped but not lost. Every emotion woven through her memories poured into her resolve. "I'm right here," she assured him, stretching her hand toward his, their fingers barely brushing. The moment ignited a spark. A potent energy blossomed between them, igniting the shadows into vibrant colors that exploded around them. Together, they pulled against the weight of darkness, Ethan's free hand reaching for hers before fate could pull him back. "Just trust me," Claire shouted, pouring every ounce of belief she had into their connection. The shadows hissed, their hold weakening. "Always," he answered, and that single word fueled her courage as they clasped hands, defiance radiating from their united power. As if understanding the burgeoning strength within the pair, the shadows recoiled one last time. A flash of blinding light erupted. With a resounding crack, the dark vortex twisted and fell apart, disintegrating before their eyes. Claire and Ethan stumbled back into reality, breathless, together in the glow of dawn. The world around them shifted, the previous fears now ashes in the light. They fell into a warm embrace, both grateful for their survival. All the uncertainty felt insignificant next to the weight of their shared victory. I thought I lost you," Ethan whispered, his voice trembling. "You didn't," Claire said, meeting his fierce gaze. "And I refuse to lose myself anymore." As dawn broke, painting the sky in brilliant colors, a wave of hope washed over Claire. She realized that she could weave her past, fears, and dreams into something powerful rather than letting them define her. "What now?" Ethan asked, pulling back slightly to search her face. "Now, we embrace whatever comes next." Together, she smiled, the warmth in her chest expanding. No more secrets. No more shadows. Hand in hand, they turned toward the horizon, ready to face the world with all its possibilities. There would be work to do, stories to tell, and a future to build. But more than that, they would explore who they truly were without the burdens of twisted shadows holding them back. As the sun climbed, its rays flooded through the streets of New York, drawing a vibrant path ahead. They took their first steps into the light, shadows left behind, free to carve their destiny with the strength they discovered within. For Claire, the story continued, and this time, it was only the beginning. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that keep you on the edge of your seat. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and empower us to share more amazing chapters with you. Flood the comments section below with your reactions and theories about this ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this thrilling conclusion. You need to show your support because true fans understand how much it means.